Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I hope everyone is well and I hope you're all looking after yourselves. I hope you've had a good week as well because this will be Friday's upload. So let me know how your week has been in the comments down below. Today I am back with a spooky speed build. I think this is the first spooky Halloween build I've done. I did a good witch build earlier on in the week because it was kind of like a cute Halloween build, you know, it's somewhat centered around Halloween but not too closely related. I'll link that down below so you can check it out. So I based this house off a film called The Woman in Black, if you've ever seen it. It's probably the only spooky film I've ever watched in the cinema, and it came out in like 2012. And I remember only watching it because Daniel Radcliffe was in it, and it's the first film I saw after like Harry Potter, and I was like big into Harry Potter when I was younger. I mean, everyone was. I just remember like going to watch this, and I thought I was big and brave and hard and going to see a spooky film in the cinema. Although I absolutely hate horrors and just creepy films in general, I can't do it. I'm a big baby. So kind of like in this film, like the plot, if you haven't seen it, basically he plays like a recently widowed lawyer, and he's like called to this remote like English countryside village to help like one of his deceased clients like get their affairs in order. And the kind of film starts out with like the villagers being quite secretive and they're like hiding something, and as it turns out he's staying in this house that was owned by his client, and it's haunted by the spirit of a woman who's trying to find her lost child, and in the process she steals the children of the people in the town out of grief and revenge. But this only happens when someone's in the house and like interfering with the house. And basically the kind of film goes on and he ends up like, I don't really want to spoil it, but it also came out like, you know, 8 years ago, so but essentially it goes out the child was lost in the marsh that surrounds the house, and in the end of the film he kind of like goes out of his way to like pull the child out, and he thinks that fixes everything because she stops stealing children, but it kind of doesn't. So I recommend watching it. It's not that scary. I think it's just like creepy and a little bit jumpy more than anything. If you don't mind films like that, I suggest watching it. But the reason why I picked this house is because it's kind of like it's spooky but not like in an obvious way. It's kind of one of those like scary houses you wouldn't really want to be near. So I built this on Twitch, which is twitch.tv/cauteggy, by the way, and I'll drop that link in the description as well so you can check it out. So I stream like 3 times a week. I mainly do Sims builds, so if you enjoy these speed builds, definitely come along and hang out. And I love taking like chat suggestions to add like quirky details and stuff. And on Tuesday I had no idea what I wanted to build, and a friend suggested that I do a haunted house, and I was kind of like on the fence between making a spooky haunted house and the kind of haunted house that you see at a fun fair, you know, like one where you go in and there's a couple of like people dressed up or whatever. They do it at like Thorpe Park as well, you know. But I ended up using Marsh house, which is this house in the film, as the main inspiration for the build, and I basically based the whole thing off of like 2 images and a couple of scenes that like stuck out from the film. Like bear in mind I've not seen this film for at least 5 years, but I remember like there was a couple of scenes where she would be in the spirit would be in the child's room and would sit on the rocking chair. Obviously you wouldn't see it, you just see the rocking chair move. So I put a couple of rocking chairs dotted about in this room, in this house, and I also do a kid's room with a rocking chair in there as well, and it feels very spooky. So this kind of build was going for like this kind of like creepy vibe but not like spooky, so you kind of feel like it's haunted. And I put it in a lot in Windenburg. It's in that kind of neighborhood where all the houses are quite spread out, and it's got quite big lots and things like that. And this is on the summer house lot, and I built there because I was like, it's kind of remote and exclusive. And in the film it's this you can only access the house by a causeway, so like when the tide comes out you can walk across, but when the tide's in you can't. So there's nothing like that in The Sims that we can kind of like use. The only thing I did think of was maybe in Cats and Dogs, the lighthouse lot. I felt like this was a little bit better because it can kind of feel a little bit spookier where it's like on its own rather than being on the whole island. And I also think this is a bigger lot as well, so I felt like this was kind of a good lot for that. So the exterior is very grand, like manor-esque. It has all these vines that grow up obviously where the house has not been looked after, and the same with like the outside, like the landscaping. I've literally just used like grass and scaled up, and then used like a variety of trees, some that are like dead and some that are like, you know, look a little bit brown. But the exterior is very like symmetrical, and it's very like classic of English Victorian home. So like I did a Victorian style home quite recently when I was redoing the goth house, and when they did that I was like, actually I kind of want it, because I spoke a little bit about what US and UK Victorians like, and this is very much more like a Victorian UK home, and I kind of wanted to do like an English version of it, so I've got the 2 different builds. But I basically really like how this turned out, and I feel like it looks really spooky. And my kind of plan was I wanted to have the downstairs be really messed up, as if people have gone in and trashed it up and things like that, you know, maybe like the neighborhood kids go in and like just hang around in the bottom, and there's like lots of dirty dishes everywhere and loads of litter and rubbish. And the kind of plan for downstairs was like I was just gonna have it really messed up and old ignored and left alone. Because in the like inspiration image, there is like, you know, papers on the floor and things are covered with sheets and that. But I kind of took that one step further in this house. But then upstairs, everything's pretty much preserved. There's not a lot of mess at all. And everything is as it would have been. Because I'm imagining if it's a spooky house, you know, you would maybe run around in the house and people would explore, but they wouldn't spend much time there if they knew it was haunted, you know? So that's the kind of thing I was going for. And also in the inspiration image, there was this big wall going up the stairs of all the portraits of family members of previous owners. So I thought I'd implement that because we have a lot of portraits with like grand frames, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do that here. But I also slipped in, I don't know if you've noticed, slipped in a little surprise. There's actually one of the movie posters that has Bob Pancakes, one of the Sims 4 like townies. So I decided to slip that in along with all these grand portraits of people, you know, Victorian homes and stuff like that. And this is what I mean, like when I like add in all these little quirky details, we just mess around in stream and it's just really fun. Like last time when I did the park build, if you've seen that one, when I was trying to work out what to do with the fountain, I ended up scaling up like a toilet and sticking a fountain in there and got rid of it in the end. But it's just fun to mess around. So these are the kind of things I don't end up including in speed builds because I don't want my videos to be like, you know, 30, 40 minutes long. Because often I'm streaming for like 4 hours, and I just don't want to like, you know, have the build be like 40 minutes without being absolutely rapid and you can't keep up with it. So I normally cut that stuff out, but this time I left the little Bob Pancakes thing in. So this is actually the first builder I've ever used the T.O.O.L mod in as well. It's a Twisted Mexi's mod. They also do the Better Build Buy. So on this on the gallery, it does say that it's got CC. However, there's no CC that's used in it whatsoever. It's just that I use the organized debug, and if you don't take that tag off, restart your game, it marks it as CC and modded on the gallery. So it is on the gallery and does say it's got CC or modded, but it hasn't. Like it is all just like Sims 4 content and EA content on there. And on that note, I did also use lots of packs. However, I know the good majority of it is get together and vampires in terms of structure and spooky stuff as well for the floorboards. A lot of the stuff is clutter and might disappear if you download it, but it's kind of like I try to make sure I was using the same packs for like furniture and all that. So that's what I noticed. Like if I'm doing a build with less pack limitations, I do try and restrict the pack limitations in terms of like the furniture. So that way it's only like clutter items that are disappearing. This house is actually fully functional. It does have a kitchen, a bathroom, 2 bathrooms actually, and 4 bedrooms, including a baby's room. And a dining room, but I use the T.O.O.L mod to like knock some things over. So if you don't need to have the T.O.O.L mod installed to download this. However, if you go into build buy and try and move one of the objects, it then does put it back to its original position. So I had like loads of fun messing around with that mod. And it's kind of the first like build mod I've ever had. And I used it to like turn bookcases over and like, you know, have fun with that and like make it look like people have gone in and wrecked it. And the same with all like the wall decals and stuff like that comes from vampires. And I loved using that as if like it makes the home feel like grand, but you know, not too intense. Also in the dining room, I used a rug. I think it's from State Living and it's like the fluffy one. But I used it in the brown swatch because I've never used that. And I was like trying to find rugs that looked old and worn in there. And I didn't want to use the same rugs all the time. So I used that fluffy one in the brown in the idea that like it's just full of dust and dirt. And I think it looks kind of cool and it makes the room look quite grungy. And I actually really like how this build turned out. It's like the most detail I've put in on an interior for a while. And I just loved like adding loads of stuff and making it look really like worn down and kind of half destroyed. So I do keep some of the stuff where I'm like messing around with the T.O.O.L mod in, but I cut it out for the good part. So I cut out the bit where I did the like cabinet turn over and like the paintings twisted, but it's just because you have to go into like live mode to do it. It does take a while because you've got to get the angles quite, like for me I had to try and get the angles right. But I really like enjoyed doing it for like just like off-center paintings. I think it really like adds to the kind of like spookiness because it's just, you can see it's not all like perfect and things like that. I also really like the kitchen. I didn't quite know what to do with the kitchen because it's kind of a Victorian build and the film is set in like a Victorian era. And I was like, I didn't really know what like Victorian kitchens are like. So I just used the vampires cabinets and just made a standard kitchen and added some clutter and rubbish and stuff like that. So it's probably not the most accurate, but I tried. And I used the like lino flooring that has that's like quite worn and torn, and I think that really adds to it as well. And the same within the bathrooms. I didn't really know what to do with tile wise, but I felt like they would have quite fancy tiles, you know. So I did that in the kitchen and the bathroom. So it doesn't quite like match, but I think it kind of works. And I didn't want to have plants in, but I feel like that it needed more decor items. So I put in the plant that has got, it's just like sticks basically with a couple of flowers on it. So imagine, you know, the flower's dead. And that made me think, I was like, I would love to see it in like, ideally it would have been in spooky stuff, because spooky stuff is quite cheesy items. Like it's very much like Halloween party items rather than like actual spooky gear. It would have been cool to have like a spooky stuff pack where it has things that look all worn and like torn and, you know, run down and things like that. And the same with all the lighting as well. I was using the lighting like wall sconces and chandeliers that have candles on them and that, because I wanted it to seem like, you know, it would be off the grid kind of thing. So there's lots of candles everywhere. And then in the end, I put loads of candles all around the house, and it's like someone's done like a seance inside. So within the library, I wanted to have like one of the bookcases like turned and like pulled down, because I thought that would be quite fun. And then I do a couple of like books scattered about everywhere as well. And there's like so many objects in the game that are like attached to each other, and you just don't notice it until you're trying to do something like this. It's like there's loads of stacks of books, and I'm like, no, I want like books that are like turned over, and I want books that are like ripped apart and stuff like that, you know, or like on their own, so it can look like it's kind of scattered. And then the same thing as well, I do it in the living room. I stick a bar in there. And I'm imagining, you know, it would just have bottles of like whiskey and like cognac and all that nonsense. And I'm imagining I've got glasses everywhere, because I'm imagining, you know, someone's gone in and like drank all the alcohol and then just left loads of rubbish there. But I really do like all the small details in this build, and I think the screenshots don't necessarily do it justice. I'll pop those at the end so you can see, but like would just love to see more of it, you know? Like I think if you download it, you'll see the like detail in it. And like I say, I am sorry for using so many packs. I just couldn't find the things that I wanted to do, and I was just enjoying having this build. So I actually only built up to the kitchen on stream, because that was how long it was taking to do all the small details. And obviously we were chatting as well. So like the rest of it I built off stream. That's why the process is a little bit faster and there's a little bit more happening in the second half of this video. Another thing as well, someone suggested maybe building Bly Manor, and I was like, 1, that's a massive build. No, thank you. And 2, I have not seen it, and I refuse to watch it because I'm a big baby, although I've heard really good things about it. And I was like, no, I'm good. I remember getting scared at this film. And also it was like I was 14 in the cinema, and it was like I was so scared. Me and my friend had our feet up on the chair because we were like scared about being on the floor. I just remember like right at the end, there's like this quite tense moment, and like someone just jumped up and said, "Use your wand, Harry." And it was hilarious, and it definitely like took all the scariness out of it for me. So I feel like if I could watch something like a horror film, have someone there to like take the scariness out by making stupid jokes all the time. That's what happened with Women in Black as well. Like there's like a scene that's really funny to reverse. But yeah. So in this kids' room, I really loved making this feel really creepy. It's not that it's like creepy in a very obvious way. I think it's just like the vibe of it, if that makes sense. So I didn't want to have like, you know, ghosts and ghouls everywhere or whatever, but like, I think it's just having the cobwebs and the like torn walls. It just makes it feel eerie, and I just really enjoyed it. And I feel like it makes the kids' room look really strange, especially as there's only a rocking chair and the bassinet in there, and that's all. And you know, pretty much in like a wardrobe or whatever. So it does make it feel really eerie and spooky. So in all the rooms, I do furnish them to like as if they were like lived in, but I just add all those wall decors where the paper is torn off and it's like exposed boards and stuff. And I just do that to make it feel more worn down and kind of old. You can imagine like, you know, the paper's peeling off, or there's mold in the corner, loads of spider webs in that. And I also add in a fireplace in almost every room apart from the kids' rooms, because in a lot of UK homes, especially older ones, there are often like fireplaces in bedrooms, and most of the time people take them out and things like that. But if you go to like more Victorian age homes, like they'll have fireplaces, because obviously we wouldn't have had central heating, so the only thing you need is a fireplace to keep the room warm. So I was like adding a fireplace in every room, and especially as quite the two big rooms are very grand, so I wanted to have like a fireplace. And there's 2 chimneys on this lot as well, so I was like, I'm just gonna go mad with all the fireplaces here. I do really enjoy how this looks. I think it looks so fancy. It's like, imagine the Goth mansion 100 years. You know, you can imagine their like furniture and all their decorations would outstand time, but it just looks like there's someone still living there, which I find quite nice. And I also like how in Vampires they gave us these like wall scratches. which I think make your like game, it adds like such a nice detail because it makes it feel really spooky, like, oh, what the fuck's happened here, you know? So it's exciting. There's also 2 libraries in this lot as well, because there was like 2 rooms and I had like too many rooms and I didn't know what to do with them. I'm not very good at furnishing big houses because I never know what to do, so I was like, I'm gonna do another library upstairs. There's one downstairs which could have been an office where there's like the desk in there, and this one is just purely a library. And then there's also a kids room where it's got 2 beds in and another grand like bedroom. I would say the master bedroom is the one on the left, the red one. It would be the right, actually. The red room, because that's next to the baby's room. And I'm imagining this one would be a bedroom, whereas like, you know, you would probably have the master room next to the baby's room, like the nursery kind of thing. So this second bedroom, I was like, I'm just going to do another big round bedroom rather than splitting it up. Especially as I really love how there's like the double high ceiling in the entryway. I think it looks so grand, and I didn't want to like have too many rooms because I feel like in big Victorian houses you probably have less rooms but bigger rooms, if that makes sense, you know? And in the same sense, I didn't know what to fill it with because obviously you can't really have like computers or TVs or anything, so I was like just filling it with decorations. I could have maybe added in a chess table, but I decided not to. And then in the kids room I do put in a couple of toys. So there's like a dollhouse, like a big castle dollhouse, and a toy box. And so this house is definitely functional. If you wanted to edit it or like fix it up to take all the wall cracks off, it would definitely be a nice fancy ass home. Anyways, we're getting to the end of the video, so I will let you enjoy the screenshots and I will see you in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later.